We're still practicing CDC guidelines. He checks in remotely from the office on Portland Street in St. Jay. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, at some point I'll make my way back up to you, I guess, huh? But for now, I don't know if it's so much practicing CDC guidelines or just being lazy and not driving to Lindenville and calling in.
Well, either way, we
Could
provide
go
some
both ways.
we provide some great information here about insurance. We had a great chat last week, but before we went on the air, we had discussed a couple of topics, and well, since we didn't have the time to hit the second one last week, let's roll with it, okay?
Yeah. So one of the things that's good to bring up every once in a while is claims. What is the purpose of purchasing and acquiring insurance? It's to have protection when something arises, i.e., a claim. And, what's very important is to have the appropriate amount of claims expectations in place. And what do I mean by that? Well, if an accident occurs, there's definitely going to be a bit of a process to kind of triage the information, get it into the right hands, get it assigned to a claims adjuster. Now remember, we sell and work with your insurance policies and manage them for you and help you with them in every capacity possible. But once a claim has occurred, it has to go from us as an agent to a company claims adjuster. And actually, there's two types of claims adjusters out there. There's independent adjusters who get hired by insurance companies, which is pretty common because not every insurance company has full-time adjusters in every state. But another thing is that you would have a claims adjuster that is directly working for and is an employee of the company that insures you. So it's going to be either one of those. And even the third option is if one of the companies that has full-time claims adjusters, if they're too overloaded, even that type of company may bring on an independent adjuster who works with them just to make sure that your claim process, is being handled properly and timely. Now think back to claim periods such as maybe it was 2008 was Irene. So in May of that year, we had some pretty tremendous rainstorms and windstorms that caused a tremendous amount of damage. Or even think about some heavy snowstorms where we get a ton of collapses and things like that. When companies get over inundated, it's not uncommon for them to have to parse out some claims to an independent adjuster who, believe it or not, they would know very well. They would work with them regularly. It's not like they just willy-nilly pick one. They're looking one who's going to be a good representation of the company. Now, when it comes to that, so think about the process. A claim happens, you notify the company however you decide to, whether it be via notifying them directly or through us as an agent. It gets taken to the company. It gets assigned to an adjuster. The adjuster already has things in motion. You're not the only claim that they're going to have, so it may be a process. Most companies work with a 24-hour turnaround of giving you a call to establish that initial point of contact. And a lot of people will develop different levels of expectations. Let's talk about an auto insurance claim, for example. They may say in their mind, well, no matter what, that person who hit me is at fault. I was backing up and they didn't stop and they ran into me. Well, most companies, that's going to be considered an at-fault accident. Why? Because you were backing up. So there are going to be many instances with an auto claim in particular that you may get upset because you're thinking, well, but I wasn't at fault. It was not my doing that caused this accident. There are different things at play as to whether a company would have to consider you partially at fault or fully at fault or not at any fault. So it's about having, understanding what the companies are telling you and realizing that they're doing their best to properly assess and take care of this claim for you.
Now, we're going to assume, too, Mike, that this process is very similar when it comes to a home claim, business claim. Is that a proper assumption?
Yes, and so if you want to talk about it on a general level, here are the fundamentals of claims processing. The claim gets reported. The claim gets assigned. The claims adjuster now has to understand the claim. Now, mind you, they refer to the policy contract to make sure a claim is either A, covered or B, not covered. So they have to fully understand what has happened to ensure that if there is coverage, that they properly work on the claim and indemnify you, meaning that they would help cover your loss subject to your policy deductible. But regardless of what type of policy it is, they got to make sure okay, was this an accident? How did it happen? Was it a single car? Was it another vehicle involved? Was an animal involved? Did anybody get hurt? But, the list goes on, and they have to really get an understanding of it. If it's a house claim, was it a fire? Was it a lightning strike? Okay, well, let's see what was damaged. How was it damaged? And getting an idea of the necessary repairs to, again, indemnify you of the process. So same with a business claim, workers' compensation claim, they all have it. And one of the things I find, and I will tell you before I even say it, Jeff, that I myself am guilty of this, because we are very much a here and now society. It's plain and simple. You order something from an online retailer, you want it tomorrow. You want to buy something at the store, you want it right now. With a claim, you need to realize that they can't just start sending checks out without knowing fully what has occurred. So in terms of getting a rental vehicle to you, or in terms of another party hit you and you haven't heard back from that company, again, there's a process. We see that one a lot, where maybe an at-fault party has not reported to their own insurance company of an accident that has occurred, or the party that was impacted by the accident has called, and now the insurance company is trying to get a hold of that person and they haven't been able to yet. Again, if they don't have the whole story, it's not something that they can really work with yet. They need to get all the details.
Right. They're not just going to write a $25,000 check for a vehicle just because you said so.
Right. They might want to talk to the driver of the person, or the person that they insure, and make sure that what you're saying is in fact what happened.
Well, I can tell from my my most recent experience was, and this isn't very recent, it was about 10 years ago. I had my car parked out back here. I go out and I look, somebody had backed into the back of my car. And it didn't go as quickly. Like you said, I've been guilty of it, thought it could go a lot faster. But after all of the due process was done, things came out fair for both. So patience sometimes a virtue.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, if you want a quick claim, glass is going to be your quickest. Glass claims are handled the quickest of anything, because there's many options for glass repair and replacement. It's fairly simple to file a claim and understand that there is coverage, because it's covered if it's glass and you have the coverage. Whereas the same example you have, my car was hit while it was parked out back here at our office, and it was by another party, and I had a little bit of a angst with going through that process. Same with you. I thought it was taking a little longer than it should. I thought they weren't being necessarily all that fair in the determination of value. We're talking, I had a vehicle that still had new plates on it. I still had the paper plates, and it got hit. So I was not happy about it. So it can be a stressful process. And I will tell you, no matter what, no matter how good a claims process is, there's stress involved, and you just need to be aware of that.
But without that due diligence and proper procedures, then things wouldn't always come out fair. So,
well, yeah, I mean, they're mitigating their losses. They're making sure that they're being appropriate in how they're handling them. Sometimes a little too much, but they do need to have that process, because, again, claims payment is about being fair and making sure that insurance remains affordable.
All right. Mike, contact information for our listeners that want to have a chat with you.
Sure. You can give us a call, 748-5224. We're located on Portland Street in St. Johnsbury. You can get a free home or auto quote at our website, thebarrettagency.com. We're on Google, Facebook, and YouTube. Just look for Barrett Insurance Agency.
And Tuesday mornings with Magic in the Morning. Be safe. Best to the family, Mike, and I'll look forward to our chat next week.
Sounds great, Jeff. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you, Mike. Barrett Insurance Agency, Portland Street, St. Johnsbury. Music coming up from Camila Cabello.